AITA for exposing wife lies to former in-laws by showing them custody documents. My niece advised that I make a post here. My ex and I have 2 children, B/G twins, who are 9 years old. We divorced in 2017. She cheated and fell in love with another person. I ripped apart the OM marriage by exposing him to his wife. I'd filed for divorce and haven't looked back since. We had several issues over child custody, but eventually agreed on a 50/50 split. I knew it wouldn't work, since the ex worked a lot and traveled a lot for her profession. The ex continued stating she'd be able to do 50/50, and throughout our divorce, she stopped traveling for work and put up a nice show, but didn't last. She began traveling again shortly after the divorce was completed, and she only saw the children 4 days a month, maybe 6 days, although that was unusual. After the divorce, she never had them for a complete 14 days each month. Everything was well recorded, and I maintained detailed logs of her missing parenting time. It was difficult to arrange anything since I never knew when the children would be with me during her parenting time. I didn't want our lives to be centered on her profession. I applied for physical custody after a year. The ex fought, and she was defeated. I don't want to say it was a slam dunk, but she didn't leave much room for her counsel to work with. She dragged it out, and we had to go through a custody assessment and trial. A full visiting schedule is available. Her visitation is also lost if she is more than 30 minutes late. Even after our second round of court, I tried to be flexible because I wanted her to spend as much time as possible with the kids, but she still did not prioritize them. She was either still late or had returned them early. I became frustrated and began strictly adhering to the custody arrangement. I refused to alternate weekends with her and began enforcing the late clause. I refused to let her take the kids 4 times because she was late, as in not showing up until the following day. She began informing her relatives that I was denying her visiting rights. Her mom and siblings did indeed come up at my door. I implored them to quit behaving as though she was a decent mother who was being denied custody of her children. We had this whole custody review done, and the report on the ex-wife was bad. The assessor was unimpressed with her. I handed them the report and ordered them to leave my property alone. They did read it. I know this because my ex called me a banshee when I revealed her falsehoods and was called out by them. She said that this was a personal concern. I warned her I'd share the report with anybody she lied to, and then I hung up. Her parents and brother each apologized in some way. Her sister, on the other hand, thinks I'm a jerk for not allowing her to see the kids if she's late. I informed her I had the kids in counseling due of her negligence, and she stopped talking. So, how about AITA? I believe I am the jerk since I gave her family the custody evaluator's report and could have made my point in a better manner. Edit. This has come up multiple times, so I'll address it here. Every Wednesday and the rare weekend, the twins see their ex-in-laws. In the summer, they also go on vacation with them. I do not avoid touch. Story 2. AITA for calling my SIL selfish after she made things personal. I, a 31-year-old female, have 2 boys, 15 male. Because of my age, my parents raised my sons until I turned 18. I was involved, and they were aware that I was their mother, but my mother wanted me to be a normal adolescent. I have a younger brother, 27 male. My relationship with him is incredibly tight. When he was 22, he married his wife, Alice, 28 female, and I tolerated her. Alice is a favorite of my boys. I wasn't shocked since she works with children and loves them. My boys were 6 when they first met, and they were constantly talking about her. As my boys got older, I had to work more and couldn't always be with them. My parents babysat them, and when my brother became older, he did as well. My brother and his wife now babysit them while I work. The problem is that my brother has triplets, 4 male, and caring for 3 toddlers and 2 teens is difficult. He contacted me many times, complaining about how stressed up he is because of his work. I went to their place yesterday to pick up my boys. I had intended to inform my SIL that my sons are old enough to be home alone after school and that she does not need to have them over all of the time since I realize how stressful it is. Instead, I was greeted by my boys pleading with me to let them spend the night at their home and my SIL pleading with me to think about it. I was unhappy since I hadn't had a night off in days and I wanted to spend it with my boys. I requested a private conversation with my SIL and informed her that I am their mother and deserve to spend time with them as well. In essence, I begged her to postpone. She invited me to join them, but I prefer to spend time with only my guys. I mentioned this, and she replied it was selfish of me since the boys don't want to. This part is painful, but Alice told me that my boys wished she was their mother and that I should do better instead of moaning to her about everything. I had previously complained to her about how they preferred her, but she had always convinced me that this was not the case. In return, I labeled her selfish for making my brother care for so many children despite the stress she knows he's under. She went away with a sigh and a roll of her eyes. I was going to weep, so I excused myself. My son phoned a couple of times, but I went to bed. I awoke to a text from my brother stating how much he loves my boys and how he never felt obligated to look after them. Yes, his work has been difficult, but my boys and his wife do not add to the tension. He also said that since my house is in an insecure area and they live in a much safer neighborhood, leaving the boys at home alone is irresponsible and hazardous. That irritated me even more, so I told him to F off, and he told me that I could say anything I wanted to him, but not to his wife. Now, I think I have the right to say what I did since my SIL acts as if I'm the worst mother in the world, despite knowing how hard I work. She also made things much too personal, but my brother is portraying me as the jerk. So, Ada, what makes you think she's selfish? Update. I'm feeling a little emotional right now, so I'll just get right to it. I know people aren't asking for an update, but I thought I'd share. After I posted, I looked through all of your comments and realized that I was, in fact, the jerk. I understand this, but I can't deny that what my SIL said stung. Bad. It irritated me greatly. I even took a day off, something I had never done before, because I couldn't bring myself to get out of bed. My whole world was devastated, and I now know it was all my fault. After my brother left off my sons on the 17th, they came into my room and told me they needed to show me something. My guys are really musically skilled, and they recorded a video of themselves performing a song for me. I broke into joyful tears. My birthday is today, and they intended to reveal it to me today, but they were aware that I was unhappy, and apparently my brother discovered that I had stayed home from work, so they all decided to present it to me earlier. I'm not sure you all understand how I feel. I've always felt insecure, and like many of you have remarked, I've always been envious of how well Alice bonded with my sons, thinking I couldn't compare, and what she said made me feel even worse. But I know I have nothing to be envious of or nervous about. My sons adore my brother and his wife, but I'm also their mother, and they adore me. They comforted me, and I told them that I love them more than anything else in the world, and we essentially had a heart-to-heart. I'd even phoned Alice and apologized to her. She expressed her displeasure that one of my sons was angry because I wasn't at one of his recitals, and instead of making an attempt to be more active in their lives, I simply whine. I'll confess it. I used to believe that working and earning money for my sons was the most essential thing, that it was all right if I worked extra hours and missed a few performances, that they will value it in the long term. I know it's bad, and although it's a difficult mentality to overcome, I'm planning on making a few modifications to my work schedule to give myself more free time. Not right now, since I'm saving money for a new apartment in a more safe neighborhood, but in a few weeks. I told my boys about it, and their expressions were priceless. I've never felt better. As many of you have commented, I am really fortunate. I have the most loving and supporting family, as well as the greatest boys anybody could wish for. I can only aspire to be half as good as they are. I know I sound emotional, but I've spent a lot of time with my guys over the last few days and I'm really happy. I'm sobbing as I type this because I'm so delighted. I hope this motivates other parents to spend time with their children, since there is nothing like it. Thank you for your advice and support. Edit. I apologize for using N instead of other alternatives in my previous article. I realize it's annoying, but I wasn't in the appropriate frame of mind and wasn't really thinking about my misuse of N. I also heard something regarding the likelihood of numerous births in the same household. It's uncommon, but it does happen. My family has a long history of having many children, twins usually though. I'm not sure why or what the science is behind that, but it's not that strange.